I feel poor. Do you ever feel that way? Even when the news is screaming about how amazing the economy is? We're told GDP is up, unemployment is low, but then I check my bank account and reality hits. There's a great disconnect, a record economy, a personal financial struggle. The truth is, it's not just me. It's a widespread feeling of financial anxiety that's plaguing a lot of people. Why is this happening? I think a big part of it comes down to something called the average lie. We hear these big numbers thrown around, average income, average net worth, and we automatically compare ourselves to them. But what if those averages aren't telling the whole story? Let's look at net worth. This is everything you own minus everything you owe. The Federal Reserve, in their 2022 survey of consumer finances, found that the average net worth of families in the United States was over $1,061,000. $1,061,700. I almost choked when I read that. But here's the kicker. The median net worth was only $192,900. That is a massive difference. So what's the deal? The average is calculated by adding up everyone's net worth and dividing by the number of people. The problem is that average can be heavily skewed by a small number of super wealthy individuals. Think about it like this. If Bill Gates walks into a small room, suddenly the average wealth in that room skyrockets. But that doesn't mean everyone else in the room got richer. The median, on the other hand, is the middle value. It's the point where half of the people are above and half are below. So, the median net worth of $192,900 gives you a much better sense of what a typical family has. Let me show you what I mean. Imagine a bar chart, one bar representing the average net worth, towering above the other bar showing the median. The visual difference is striking. It immediately highlights how those high net worth individuals are skewing the data, making the average a misleading benchmark for most of us. It's like this. 10 people are in a room. 9 have $10 each. One person has $1 million. The average dollars per person is just over $100,000. But does that mean everyone in the room is wealthy? No. The median, the middle value, is still just $10. That's the average lie in action. And that is what causes this feeling of financial inadequacy. We're comparing ourselves to a standard that simply isn't realistic for the vast majority of people. We're chasing a ghost. But let's dive deeper into why so many of us feel like we're falling behind. It's not just about misleading averages, it's also about income and savings. Let's talk about real wages. For years, wages haven't kept pace with inflation. The money coming in just doesn't stretch as far as it used to. I want to show you a chart. On one line, we'll plot average income growth. On the other, we'll overlay inflation data. You can see how inflation often outpaces wage growth, eroding our purchasing power. It's like running on a treadmill that keeps speeding up. The U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics says that the Consumer Price Index, the CPI for all items, rose 2.7% for the year, ended December 2025. 2.7%. It sounds lower than before, but remember, that is on top of the massive hikes we saw in previous years. Prices aren't going down, they just aren't rising quite as fast. And what happens when costs go up but your paycheck stays relatively the same? Well, you start dipping into your savings or worse, going into debt. This brings us to another crucial point, the savings collapse. People just aren't saving like they used to. The Bureau of Economic Analysis, the BEA, reported that the personal saving rate was just 3.5% in December of 2025. 3.5%. While that is a slight ticking up from the absolute bottom, it is still historically weak compared to the 5 or 6% we used to see. I want to show you another graph. This one tracks the personal savings rate over time. You can see a clear downward trend, especially in recent years. What was once a comfortable cushion has become a threadbare safety net for many. Why is this happening? Several factors are at play. The increased cost of living is a huge one. Housing, healthcare, education, these expenses are skyrocketing, eating up a larger and larger chunk of our income. It's harder to save when you're just trying to keep your head above water. The reality is, many people are forced to choose between saving for the future and paying for necessities today. That's a tough position to be in, and it contributes to the feeling of financial insecurity. So, we've established that averages can be misleading and that wages aren't keeping pace with the rising cost of living. But how does this all translate into our actual net worth at different ages? Are we really as far behind as we think we are? Let's break it down by age group and see what the data tells us. I want to show you how the average lie affects your perception of wealth. Remember the Federal Reserve data? Remember that massive gap I showed you earlier? That gap gets even wider when we look at specific generations. Now let's see how this plays out across different generations. We'll look at average versus median net worth for under 35s, millennials, Gen X, and boomers. It's crucial to remember that having less than the average for your age is often normal. The median is a far better benchmark. Let's start with the under 35 crowd. The average net worth is around $183,000. That sounds impressive, right? But the median is a more realistic picture. It is only $39,000. I want to show you a graphic that really drives this home. Millennials face a similar situation. Their average net worth is significantly higher than the median. Again, this is because a small percentage of wealthy millennials skew the numbers. Don't get discouraged if your net worth isn't close to the average. It's likely you're right in line with the median, which is a much more accurate reflection of where most millennials stand. Gen X has had more time to accumulate wealth, but the same principle applies. The average net worth is higher than the median, thanks to the same effect. It's vital to understand that these averages don't tell the whole story. And finally, let's look at boomers. They typically have the highest net worth, but even within this group, there's a significant difference between the average and the median. So if your retirement savings aren't matching some supposed average, don't panic. It might be that you're actually doing perfectly fine compared to your peers. Focus on what you need for your retirement. Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room: housing and debt. I'm calling this the 2026 wall. We're heading into 2026 with a housing market that's, well, let's just say it's complicated. Mortgage rates are stuck between 6.0 and 6.3%. That's double what they were just a few years ago. And home price growth? Stagnant. This creates a huge divide. You have homeowners who locked in low rates years ago and are sitting on a pile of equity. Then you have renters facing sky-high rents, struggling to save for a down payment. The National Association of Realtors says existing home sales have climbed to a seasonally adjusted annual rate of 4.35 million in December 2025. That sounds like a recovery, right? Not exactly. While activity is up, it is still far below the 6 million pace we saw in the boom years. It means people are buying, but begrudgingly. Compare that to pre-pandemic levels. It's a significant slowdown, and that impacts everything from construction to the broader economy. Think about it. If you're trying to buy a home, those mortgage rates eat up a huge chunk of your income. Suddenly, that dream home feels out of reach. And if you're renting, you're stuck paying someone else's mortgage with little chance to build equity yourself. It's a tough spot to be in. But housing isn't the only pressure point. Let's not forget about debt. Student loan debt, credit card debt, auto loans. It all adds up. For many, student loan payments have resumed, adding hundreds of dollars to monthly expenses. Credit card debt is at record highs as people rely on credit to make ends meet. This debt burden is crushing people's ability to save and invest. It's a financial anchor holding them back. I want you to picture this. You're working hard, but every month a big chunk of your paycheck goes towards debt payments and rent. Saving for retirement feels impossible. It's no wonder people feel financially stressed. They're facing a perfect storm of high housing costs, rising debt, and stagnant wages. It's a system where it feels like you are running in place. The American dream? For many, it feels like a distant fantasy. These figures paint a pretty clear picture of the housing market's impact, and that picture isn't particularly rosy for anyone trying to enter the market. The high interest rates are pricing out many first-time buyers. Existing homeowners are staying put, reluctant to give up their low mortgage rates. This lack of inventory keeps prices artificially high. And it's not just about buying a house. Renters are facing their own set of challenges. Rents have soared in recent years, outpacing wage growth. Many renters are spending over 30%, even 50% of their income on housing alone. That leaves little left over for other essentials, let alone saving for the future. It's a vicious cycle. The combination of high housing costs and significant debt loads creates a financial strain that's hard to escape, and it directly contributes to the feeling of being behind. I want to be clear, this isn't about blaming individuals. It's about understanding the systemic factors that are making it harder for people to achieve financial security. The 2026 housing market is a key piece of this puzzle. High mortgage rates, stagnant home prices, and rising rents are all contributing to the feeling of being financially squeezed. Add in the burden of student loan debt and credit card debt, and it's no wonder people feel like they're falling behind. This is the 2026 wall I'm talking about. It's a barrier to financial progress that many people are struggling to overcome. So, what can we do about it? I don't have all the answers, but understanding the problem is the first step towards finding solutions. We need to address the root causes of high housing costs. We need to find ways to make debt more manageable. And we need to ensure that wages keep pace with the rising cost of living. These are complex challenges, but they are not insurmountable. By working together, we can create a more equitable and sustainable financial system for everyone. Okay, so where does this leave us? I've shown you how averages can be misleading. Remember that Federal Reserve study? It highlighted a massive gulf, an average net worth around $1,061,700 versus a median of just $192,900. That difference is huge. The key takeaway here is simple. Don't panic if you're not hitting the average. It's skewed by outliers. So, how should you gauge your financial health? It's about finding a more relevant benchmark. Forget chasing unrealistic averages. Instead, look at the median. That gives you a far more accurate picture of where most people your age are. Also, drill down to look at metrics that truly matter in your life. Your savings rate is a great example. What percentage of your income are you actually saving? Compare that to your peers, not just some nebulous average. Your debt-to-income ratio is another crucial number. How much of your monthly income is going towards debt payments? The lower, the better. Fidelity Investments' latest retirement savings analysis showed the average 401k balance was $135,600 at the end of quarter 4, 2025. The truth is, there's no magic number that applies to everyone. Your financial journey is unique. Focus on your goals. Do you want to buy a home? Pay off debt? Retire early? Build a safety net? Define what financial success means to you and then create a plan to get there. Instead of feeling discouraged by headline numbers, make small, consistent improvements. Automate your savings. Negotiate lower interest rates. Create a budget and stick to it. Every little bit helps. Don't get caught up in comparing yourself to others. Compare yourself to yourself. Are you making progress towards your goals? Are you improving your financial habits? That's what truly matters. Take control. Educate yourself. Seek professional advice if needed. Don't let fear or anxiety paralyze you. The 2026 economy presents real challenges. There is no question about it. Inflation remains a concern, as the CPI rose 2.7% for the year ended December 2025. Savings rates are still thin. The Bureau of Economic Analysis reported a personal saving rate of just 3.5% in December 2025. But by focusing on what you can control, you can navigate these challenges and build a brighter financial future.